So this policy is a welcome change. It is a very, very well-intentioned draft. And I'm going to take up point by point whatever you need to know. I'll not be touching upon the college education. I'm only going to touch upon the school education so that we at least know what changes are lying ahead of us. So the first thing and the most important thing that this policy brings in is early childhood care and education. Now, as we know, there were play schools mushrooming in every nook and corner of the city. You could see them. So what was happening was that the early childhood education was getting very, very badly affected. The base of these children was not very strong once they were coming into formal school. So this policy pays a lot of attention to that. And because of that, the government has decided in this policy that the pre-primary education will be completely monitored. Now, preschools will be co-located with pre-primary schools wherever possible so that access to school education, preschool education is there. Then a new early childhood education framework will come up. Now, a proper curriculum framework will be developed only for pre-primary school, and NCERT, which was giving us books from grade 1 to 12. Now NCERT will be publishing the books for pre-primary education as well. So that is one very, very major focus of this policy, to strengthen the pre-primary education in our country. A lot of children, they drop out after completing their schooling. So these children, they used to take admission in the Anganwadis, and they would stay with the schools only till they were of the age that they can go out and help their parents in work. Once they reached that stage that they could go and help out the parents in work, they were out of the school. This already is functional, but open schooling is, people have an access to open school only when they want to appear for the board exams. Like you could appear through a regular school, you could appear from an open school. But basically, it was only for the board exam in 10th and 12th. Now the government is, extending the access of open schooling right from very early stage to the last stage of the school, so that children who cannot attend school regularly, they could at least study and appear through open school, so that the literacy, the education of the child is not affected due to any factors that are at the back end in his family, society, or whatever. Now, even the girls, even if they cannot go to it due to any financial reasons or whatever of the parents, if they cannot attend school, they can at least study at home and continue with their education through open school. So that is also one very good change that this policy has brought in. Now, very, very important, what is going to affect all of us in a very positive way, that is the new curricular and pedagogical structure. Now, if the government had to attach the pre-primary schools to the main schooling, they had to bring a very radical change in the curricular and pedagogical structure. Now, currently we are following the structure of 10+2, right? Like grade 1 to 10, and then 2 years of senior secondary. So this is what the structure that we follow right now. But new education policy has redesigned this structure. So government comes up with this structure where 5 years of foundational stage. This foundational stage is pre-primary and 1 and 2. So 5 years is 3 years of your pre-primary, PG nursery prep, and 2 years of your class 1 and 2. So now these 5 years are going to be a part of foundational stage, where the basic concepts of the children are going to be made strong. Then they come to the preparatory stage, that is 3 years of it, which is from grade 3 to 5, right? So we're not going to call them pre-primary and primary. Now 5 years, initial 5 years are foundational stage, and after that 3 years are going to be preparatory stage. So in the foundational stage, we are going to make the concepts of the children strong, and then we are going to prepare them for later stages in their education ladder. These 3 years, we used to call 6 to 8 middle school. The new education policy is calling it upper primary stage, where we are going to work upon the concepts. The concepts are already built up. The children have been prepared in the preparatory stage for this upper primary level, and here we're going to brush up their skills. Now the next stage is four years of secondary stage. In this stage, class 9 to 12 are there, and new education policy, like earlier what we were doing, grade 9 and 10th were called secondary, 11th and 12th were called senior secondary. So now the notion of senior secondary is out. We are just calling everything this secondary stage. Senior secondary is not going to be, this terminology will not be used anymore. It is going to be divided into semesters. There'll be total 8 semesters in your secondary stage. All right, there'll be nothing like yearly exam or something is going to happen. They're going to be, each year will be having 2 semesters, and 4 years will have 8 semesters. So every time the children will have to, in each year, he'll have to clear the semester. Not that end of the year board examination or end of the year annual examination, that concept is not going to be there anymore. They will have to clear the semesters, that's 6 months. And they would study 5 to 6 subjects each semester. So what the policy proposes is that if the child is studying 5 to 6 subjects each semester, by the time child moves out of the of school, after these 4 years, he would have studied 24 subjects. In these 4 years, there will be a lot of stress on the vocational subjects and physical education. And the content load of each subject will be reduced to essential core. We're not going to go only by the text rigor, but the basic things that the children need to know in each and every subject, they'll be knowing. And that's how this policy makes a lot of space for holistic discussion-based and analytical education that could be provided to the child. And a very important thing is that there's not going to be any status hierarchy amongst the subjects as curriculars, co-curriculars, or extracurriculars. We had a clear-cut demarcation, and there were curricular subjects, there were co-curricular subjects, and there were extracurriculars. And there used to be this thing in the schools, co-curriculars were not given so much of importance as curriculars, but now this demarcation will not be there. All the subjects will be known as curriculars, whether it is your history, civics, geography, music, art, dance, each and every subject will be known as curricular, and they will be given equal importance. So this division of curricular and co-curricular is also coming to an end with new education policy. There is a major change that this policy brings in the pedagogical and curricular structure. That is that the students will be exposed to 3 languages from foundational stage, that is pre-primary to grade 2. This 3-language formula has been there in the core of Indian Constitution. Here in our country, you can see that there is a lot of diversity of language. So that is why the 3-language formula was brought in by the Indian government that time, by our constitution makers, that we give Hindi and English to each child, and then 3rd language that we teach to the children, that was supposed to be any regional language. So this language policy is bringing, this new education policy is bringing that focus on our Indian languages, and they are going to teach, and right now we teach the 3rd language from grade 5 onwards. Now the 3 languages will be taught to children from pre-primary stage. This is what the policy focuses. It's going to be a challenge how we implement it, but this is what the policy says. Until grade 3, 3 languages would be Hindi, English, and 1 Indian language. And Sanskrit will be offered at all levels. Students will study foreign languages from grade 9 onwards. So this is the entire arrangement of the Indian government, that of the policy makers, the national education policy makers, that we promote our Indian languages. New education policy makers, they are focusing on numeracy, that is mathematical skills, and the languages. Then come the reforms in examination system. That is, again, the examination system is going to go through a complete overhaul. Board examinations will be replaced by modular assessments. As I had told you, that the 4 years of senior school that we call senior school right now, and the children use at the end of every second year, like grade 10 and grade 12, children were going through major board examinations. Now they are going to face the modular assessments. Modular assessments are end of the semester assessment that they're going to face, and the credits will be given to the student. Then they will choose the subjects and semester as to when they wish to appear for each subject. Multiple attempts will be allowed. Now, this policy is actually giving a lot of relaxation in terms of stringent rules. This policy is a very student-centric policy. So as and when the students wish to appear for the assessments, they can do that. And multiple assessments will be given to the children without tagging them for anything, that this is compartment and this is failure and this is that, and all these things, all this terminology will be out now. Then in all schools, census examination will be conducted by state in grades 3, 5, and 8. So at these intervals, like grade 3, grade 5, grade 8, the census examinations will be conducted. We call them census examinations. That is for the government to collect the data of learning levels, right? There are a lot of procedural reforms, such as doing away with migration and school living certificates, etc., will be taken up. All these things will be done away with, like in grade 10, in 12, we have the school living certificate we are giving to the child. Then in grade 10, if the child is going out, we're giving them migration certificate and all that. This is going to be completely out, and education system, right from pre-primary level till the college, will be a seamless transition for each and every child, right? So wherever the children has to change, even from school to college level, it will be a seamless transition for the child without letting them get into any kind of hassles that they face right now. Then school complexes. This is also a very major change that the policy is bringing. It recommends bringing multiple public schools, minimum 15 together. They'll form a complex. And in these complexes, the schools will work together. They'll share the infrastructure and they train teachers across one complex, right? So if supposing there is a complex of 15 schools, those 15 schools share the resources. One school might have an excellent football ground. The other might have a good facility for indoor. So they could share with these resources with the students of different schools, and also they could share their human resources with the different schools. The concept of learning hubs has already been introduced by CBSE. Most of you would be aware about it. This policy also intends to bring out a very important, as we know, that very first, one of the very important skills in 21st century skills that's counted, that is the collaboration, right? Collaboration, coordination, teamwork. So that is the concept that new education policy is trying to promote amongst the students and amongst the schools. So that's how they've come up with school complex system. That is a replication of learning hubs of learning that CBSE has introduced. This policy also has a lot of teacher-centric approach. A lot of changes with regard to teachers have come up. They say that existing B.Ed program will be replaced by a 4-year integrated B.Ed program, where you'll get the, right now you have to do your graduation, then you have to enroll for B.Ed. So there'll be a 4-year integrated program where you get a degree of graduation also and the B.Ed also. So you don't have to enroll separately for B.Ed. That is a very good thing. And then program, and this will be the B.Ed, entire B.Ed program will be completely changed. The curriculum will be changed, which is a high quality content, pedagogy, and practical learning. Then again, another thing is that teacher education will be offered only by multidisciplinary institutes. So then there'll be structured guidelines for teacher recruitment, CTET, that is only applicable right now from TGT onwards. Now it will be all across the school. The teacher appointment will be done only through CTET. That the teachers who have cleared TET examination, only then they will be able to come into teaching job. Then another thing that comes up is regulation of schools. Now, draft policy recommends separating the regulation of schools from operation. Now, this new policy separates the regulation of schools from operation. So, it suggests that state school regularity authority will come up in each state, which will make the rules and regulations for the school, and Department of Education of state will conduct monitoring and execution of those rules made by SSRA, right? And third, the SCRT will look after academic aspect. So you have to understand that at the state level, we are coming up with three regulation authorities, right? The first one, that is State School Regularity Authority, that is going to prescribe the basic uniform rules and regulations. So that is SSRA is the rules making authority. Then Department of Education is the authority which will look into the execution of those rules and how they will be implemented. They will monitor that. SCERT will look after academic aspect. So these are the three changes at the state level, and regulations for public and private schools are going to be the same. And then at the local level, you have the SCMC, School Complex Management Committee, which will look after working of the schools. Education governance at the central level. The draft policy suggests creation of National Education Commission or Rashtriya Shiksha Ayog as an apex body of education, though each and every state is having a complete control over the policies that they make regarding education, but the apex body, which is not existing in India till now, that will be Rashtriya Shiksha Ayog, which will be a deciding authority over the states as well. So that's going to come up, and Prime Minister will be the head of this Rashtriya Shiksha Ayog, right? Then Ministry of Human Resources and Development must be renamed as Ministry of Education. Earlier, everything was controlled in the education sector in schools, colleges by MHRD. That was Ministry of Human Resource Development. Now it is named as Ministry of Education, which has already taken place. Now financing the education. In new policy, the government has also increased the investment on education. It was earlier, currently, it was only 10% of total public expenditure, but now the government is increasing it to 20% in next 10 years, which is a very, very welcome change. That means there'll be a lot of investment in education, and there'll be a lot of good changes that will happen. Then technology in education. Even this new policy is focusing a lot on electrification of all educational institutes, as electricity is the prerequisite of all technology-based interventions. If electricity is not there, then how can you ensure the technology-based education? So the government is putting a lot of stress on electrification of the schools and colleges, which is a prerequisite of technology-based interventions. Then they are also setting up National Mission on Education to provide evidence-based advice to central and state governments on how we can increase the the access of technology in school. Digital National Repository of Education will be made with the copyright-free educational resources. Then vocational education, the committee recommends integrating vocational educational programs in all educational institutions in a phased manner over a period of 10 years. The government, CBSE, has been having a lot of focus on vocational education, because what was being seen, that the education that we were imparting to the children, that was not preparing them for vocations. And skill-based education is actually somehow, it was taking a back seat. The polytechnics and all, where the skill-based education is provided, they were not having the status, equal status as our colleges and other institutes and schools have. So this is the kind of thing that has been brought in by this education policy, that vocational education will be imparted right from school level. From grade 9, the students will have to study at least one subject in 9 to 12 in each semester. The child will have to take one vocational subject, and that is already existing under National Skills Qualification Framework. That very important step that this policy has introduced is adult education. adult education in our country was treated as community service. Like schools would take up adult education projects that we are doing the community service. Then these schools would function, like they were not given too much of importance there. We only had importance for the education of the children, but we are talking about the sector where the parents are not educated. So if they are not educated, they cannot contribute anything to the education of their children. So adult education programs are going to be taken up seriously. There will be proper institutes opened up by the government, and a proper curricular framework for the adult education will come up. And these adult education centers will also be set up. These were the basic points in this new policy. I'm sure that I've touched upon everything that is relevant to you. And if there's anything that anyone would want to ask, you can ask.